think it was when I first crossed Cooper Square for the first time and went east of 3rd Avenue for the first time. And everything was completely different, and I was all of a sudden in the East Village, and I realized that I was in my place. I remember then going to the Boy Bar, which is right there. It was right at 3rd Avenue and 8th Street. And that was sort of the epicenter of everything. I had come from DC, where I was a straight edge punk, and I was getting picked on by skinheads down there. And there were gay skinheads at the Boy Bar, queer skinheads. So I knew then even more that, okay, like I can be myself here and do what I want here. So that's when I realized that I was home. Okay, so some of my pronunciations may be wrong, but the first photographer that I think is really important to talk about is Guy Bourdin. He was the one who kind of originated that really hardcore 70s style of photography, this super glam, really sort of rough, kind of over-sexualized stuff that refers to drugs, and he's famous for actually almost killing one of his models by gluing pearls all over her to the point where she almost suffocated. He was the real deal. The second photographer I want to talk about is Pierre Molinar, and he was a total closet case. He lived in an apartment in Paris, and by day he was some type of clerk or something, and but in his spare time he dressed up in drag and did all these self-portraits of himself in really crazy like S&M drag, and this is I think during the 50s. And he'd wear lady masks, those clear lady masks and wigs, and then he'd paint the photos to retouch himself and make himself into this sort of dream S&M doll. I've seen that Violet Chachki ripping him off. So, you know, he's really important. He's very famous for his suicide. His suicide note read simply, "The key is with the concierge." And then the third person I want to talk about, of course, is James Bidgood. And that goes back directly to my legacy as a sort of a classic, you know, I'm working in a tradition of classic physique photography like the AM Athletic Model Guild. But Bidgood was really the one who famously shot Pink Narcissus, and he was a master of sort of lo-fi studio production and crazy set work and just amazing visuals. My first must-see movie is Flash Gordon. If you've never seen Flash Gordon, it's from, what year was it? It was like 78, I think. And it was directed by Dino De Laurentiis, who also directed Barbarella and a host of other amazing things. With a soundtrack by Queen and the most incredible costumes you've ever seen in your life. Just every inch of every costume covered with bugle beads. I mean, the movie is just insane from beginning to end, everything about it. I wanted to mention a movie called The Shanghai Gesture, which is it has Gene Tierney in it, and an actress, Una Munson, I think, who plays Mother Jin Sling, and she is done up like the most amazing dragon lady, and the most amazing dragon lady hair and makeup and costumes that you've ever seen in your life. I mean, this is from the 40s, and I think Adrian might have done the costumes. Because my work is heavily influenced by music, and I wanted to mention, I'm sure somebody else has already mentioned this, but I wanted to mention Patrick Cowley. Patrick Cowley was kind of like the poor man's version of Giorgio Moroder. He started work in the late 70s as a disco producer, and he pioneered the San Francisco sound. He pioneered the use of synthesizers. And he was one of the very first electronic music producers, and he worked in San Francisco. and he went on to invent the San Francisco sound, which is also known as high energy. He produced all of Sylvester's early records. He died of AIDS in 1983, so he was really early on. All of his stuff is just incredible, and it's beginning. The millennials are starting to discover this, but the straight ones, the straight kids they're starting to know more than we do, guys. It's not cute for us. We need to catch up, but it's definitely checkup time on Patrick Cowley. He was really one of us. He was really, one of our people. And I also want to give an honorable mention to Roxy Music, just because they are so just the height of sophisticated, sexy rock and roll. And if you've never seen them, they're still touring. They're totally amazing. Just their album covers alone are worth, digging through crates for. So yeah, for sure, Roxy Music. Actually, the person who told me originally about this Shanghai Jester was Kabuki. And he is somebody that you guys should try to get a hold of if you can. I know he's a superstar right now, he's a superstar. But he's totally genius. And also Charlie Atlas. For sure you guys should speak to Charlie Atlas, another genius. His last show featured Lady Bunny, along with a bunch of amazing, beautiful imagery, super refined and sophisticated. Just absolutely on fire right now, so you should speak to him for sure.
There's so many great gay movies out there, and there's so many great films that have a gay aesthetic or an extreme aesthetic or a camp aesthetic that I love. But if I had to single it down just to a couple, I think the greatest gay movie ever made is definitely Pink Narcissus.